shared the first service. I was glad that he and I got off to a good start because the very first time, right after we moved here, first time my wife and I went to his house, we took our brand new puppy dog who went over and pooped right in the middle of their living room. And he didn't throw us out, and it worked out from there. I'm going to go with humor as much as I can, so this may be a good time for you to fill out connection cards and not look at me directly in the face. Have those already when the offering trays are passed. Those are important. And as I look around here, there's some of you that haven't filled them out because I did a report just yesterday to turn in and said, there's a few people I see, but they're not filling them out. So fill them out, please. That'd be helpful. How do you sum up 16 years? I don't really know. I don't know if it's appropriate to. I don't know what I think, but I had a thought about my when I came. We do things differently here, praise God, than we used to. Everything changes. But when I came, they had me on Sunday morning. Give about 2 or 3 minute testimony, and then we did that afternoon, evening. We had it's set up kind of like a press conference, for lack of a better word. We did it in the what's now the clubby room, it was the fellowship hall then, and they gave me a mic and a stool and a bottle of water next to a table and set my wife there, and then for about half an hour or so, anybody that wanted to ask any questions could ask questions, and I sat there taking questions. And it was kind of awkward and kind of fun, and I still remember one of the questions Nancy Zinbeck asked me. She was in the first service, and she asked me if I had a 5-year plan. And it was one of those things that, at the time, you're like, man, I probably should have an answer to this. I mean, I should probably sound professional, but the truth of it was my answer was, no, I have no 5-year plan. I've done nothing longer than 5 years in my whole life up to that point, so I don't know what I would do. And the honest truth of it is, I'm glad I didn't have a 5-year plan because it wouldn't have been good enough, wouldn't long enough, wouldn't have been near what I did. It's been a really good run. We came to OCC about a little less than 2 years after this church had split. If you don't know the history of the congregation, it had split. And things were kind of raw, but the congregation was healing, and I was coming from a pretty difficult ministry. My averages on the ministry, I did 18 months with the first church. I've done 16 years here, so kind of go if I split the difference, I'll think I've done okay. But it was a rough 18 months. I mean, there were some things that I loved, but there were some things that were hard. And got here, Nicole and I talked. We had been here probably about a year and a half before we really kind of put our finger on a couple of things that we appreciated here. And one of them was just people's willingness to have a relationship with us. People that didn't know us, that would welcome us in. And we would be walking around in a neighborhood or riding our bikes and go, I wonder what so-and-so's doing. I think they live around here. And we would drop in, and people would let us come in and feed us and just talk to us. And that was the craziest thing, because where I had been, I could have been there 20 years and still been the new person and would have always felt awkward. And that didn't happen here. People invested in me, and so relationally, it was a big deal for us to come. Just a couple things I want to share along with thank you that I think OCC taught me, and maybe taught us together, things that I appreciate. OCC really helped me understand that I could befriend and love and be loved by the people I served and ministered with. Ken mentioned that a little bit, but at my ordination, I remember my father telling me, look, the people that you work with are going to be the ones that hurt you the most. Just be prepared. They're the ones that you're going to pour into. Just know that's going to happen. And that's true for every minister. It really, truly is. But because they know it's true, because they kind of warn you about that, there's a tendency to kind of try to keep people at arm's length, to keep this buffer so that it doesn't hurt so bad. And I'm glad it didn't. Makes it hurt. But it's relationships that were amazing. There were some things this church helped us through, helped Nicole and I grow through. When we came, we celebrated our very first wedding anniversary here. We moved here about 6 weeks before our first wedding anniversary. It snowed. And I'll remember because senior pastor at the time said we were going to have an open house, and kind of made me have an open house on my first anniversary. I'm like, dude, you are causing me a problem. But we got through it. It snowed. We made all this food, and like 10 people were able to come. But we had food for like a month. It was pretty cool. But in the first couple of years, we decided we wanted to have children, and kind of thought that's really all you had to do, to have children, and we didn't. And many of you have heard the story. We struggled with infertility for quite a while. And the church was great. We had people that came alongside of us that were going through the same stuff. We prayed with, met with, and got mad about, because it just felt like when you don't have something, it feels like everybody else has it. And it felt like everybody and their brother was having a kid. And I'm like, what's up with that? And went about 3 years through that whole struggle. But the people walked alongside, prayed for, and then the church was great because not just on the relational side of things, but from the start, the elders were pretty cool. Like, when you're going through some of this stuff, you got to go take shots when you got to go take shots. And 28 days is 28 days, and sometimes that happens on Sunday, and they're like, look, if you got to leave, do what you got to do. Your family's your first priority. And, they were great about it. Then when we eventually had children, it seems like it was so long ago, but Sydney's about to have her 11th birthday. People babysat, prayed for, brought food, did all that kind of stuff, kind of carried us through it. And so helped us through that. 2012, the summer of hell, that I like to say, was the year of the tornado, the Joplin tornado. This family here jumped in because my family lost their home. And it's probably took about 2 years before people didn't ask me every time they saw me if my parents got back into their house and if everything was good and if the church got rebuilt. And we sent people down there and they took care of us. And that summer was crazy because the tornado happened in May. Cindy broke her arm twice. She got strep twice. My mother-in-law had surgery and we found out she had cancer. And my grandpa had surgery, eventually died in August. And from May to August, it was brutal. And I didn't like people very much. And the church stepped in and can make me take some time off. Made me go to counseling, which is super helpful. Super helpful was. But the church walked alongside. If you keep people at arm's length, you don't get to do stuff like that. Small groups. At the end of that 2012, my wife and Ken both said, you got to get in a small group, you need to do it. I didn't want to do it. I wanted no part of a small group. I thought I had a small group by my youth sponsor that I spent time with. And I thought it was going to have to be like the Bible answer man and know everything, and I was in no shape to know everything right then. And Cole told me, he said, look, I got a group for you, you need to go. It was at Roger and Mandy's house. They were awesome. Group loved me, didn't make me talk, and did life